Hey, poets and poetry fans out there. This is James P. Wagner again. This is another video on Poetic Meter in the series. So far, we've already talked about trochaic meter and we talked about poetic meter in general. So now we're going to talk about one that is usually overlooked, and that's anapestic meter. And even though this one's overlooked, it's actually very important, and we hear this a lot more often than we think we do. So what is an anapest? It's a metrical foot consisting of two short or unstressed syllables followed by one long or stressed syllable. So this is actually three syllables, whereas trochees and iambs are two syllables. This is three, along with the dactyl, which we will talk about in the future. At least in English, it's unstressed and stressed. In other languages, like Latin or Greek, it was two light syllables followed by a heavy one. Let's not forget that poetic meter is different across various language barriers. But certain things they have certain commonalities that run through them, and anapest is considered the opposite of a dactyl, and this one is often used in storytelling. So here's a few examples of some anapestic words and also some combinations, because when you get into the poetic feet that have three syllables instead of two, sometimes it's more common that you will actually see combinations of words making them up rather than individual words. But we do have some individual words that make up an anapest. Understand, as you can see there, the two unstressed syllables followed by the stressed syllable. Undertow, juxtapose, interrupt, and unabridged being a few examples of words that in and of themselves are anapests. And there's a couple of combinations you can see here on the right. In the house, get a life, we drink wine, with the words being the unstressed and then stressed syllables. Like we said earlier, anapestic meter is used pretty often in storytelling. A Visit from St. Nicholas, more commonly known as The Night Before Christmas, and It Was the Night Before Christmas, was actually written in anapestic tetrameter, which, as we know from the introductory video on poetic meter, means 4 feet of anapestic syllables. So as you can see here, a line that we all are pretty much familiar with. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. And right there you could see with the slashes that it's separated into the anapestic feet. And you can see each line has 4 feet, so anapestic tetrameter. So just to read the example of the from the poem that gives the anapestic meter, just in all its glory as it's being read. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mamma in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. So as you can see, anapestic tetrameter is a meter that flows really well and has that kind of storytelling motif that we've seen in a lot of things. For example, Dr. Seuss, somebody we all know and love, frequently used anapests in his stories. Here's an example of that from Horton Hears a Who, which opens also with anapestic tetrameter. On the 15th of May, in the jungle of Newell, in the heat of the day, in the cool of the pool, he was splashing, enjoying the jungle's great joys, when Horton the elephant heard a small noise. And as you can see here with the capital stresses and all that, you see you get a lot more combinations of words that actually form the anapestic sounds. On the 15th, whereas you're using half of the word 15th to form the stress syllable, because the first syllable in 15th is stressed. So 15th, the word itself would actually be a trochaic word, but when you combine it with on the 15th, you get the first 3 syllables become an anapest. And you can see that a lot through a lot of poetic meter. When you get into, like I said, the 3 syllable poetic feet, you start getting a lot more combinations of things. In fact, there's actually one type of poetic feat that actually doesn't have any natural words that in and of itself are that, but we'll get into that in a future video. But for this one, hopefully you saw, just how cool and how frequently we've actually seen anapestic tetrameter. Yeah, it's pretty common. And it's really good examining these and seeing how there's so many different types of poetic feat and poetic traditions that we actually can see on a regular basis that we just haven't really, thought of that much. So hopefully you enjoyed this little explanation about anapests, and we'll recognize anapests and anapestic tetrameter a lot more when you're out there, reading nursery rhymes and stories and things like that. And hopefully soon we'll have up the next video on the next type of poetic meter. So hope you enjoyed. Have a good one. Keep on writing.